In this section, we will use another service from K6, which can be found at test-api.k6.io, a link in the resources folder. This website is essentially an interactive documentation for an API which can be used to manage crocodiles. Yes, you heard it correctly, and the captions are also correct, crocodiles. So let's take a look at this API and see what we can do. First of all, I want you to notice that this is a REST API, which is essentially an architectural way on how you can design APIs, and nowadays this is probably the most popular one. So the chances that you're going to work with REST APIs is relatively high. Apart from this, you may also notice that this API is divided in different sections. So there are like public APIs, there's something dealing with registration and authentication, and there's also private APIs. Okay, so let's go from top to bottom. The next thing that we will see here is the request method. So HTTP supports different request methods. One of the most ones is GET, which, as the name suggests, is used to get some information. It's used to request some information. Others can be POST, PUT, patch, delete, and so on. But let's go back to GET. So let's say we want to use this first thing here. It says here it's a public endpoint. So what we're seeing here is not a complete address, but only essentially a section of the address. It's more or less the ideas of REST APIs is that we are working with resources. So for example, we can have a list of crocodiles, which can be a resource. We can get an individual crocodile, and that is also a resource. So it's more or less, if you can think of it like an object or some information that you can use, like an order or anything else. If we click on this, we'll actually be taken to a more interactive page, and it's going to tell us exactly what kind of a response we're supposed to get from here. And apart from this, what we'll see here often in the address right on top is the entire address, right? So what we have here is the first part is the so-called base URL. It's where all the requests go. And then in the documentation, we only see this part, like /public/crocodile. So if you want to make a request, we need the entire address. So I'm going to copy this address, and I'm going to go inside Postman. So here inside Postman, I'm going to go ahead and open a new tab. And what you will notice here by default is the HTTP request method GET. So this is selected by default. So let's go ahead and paste this inside here. And in order to actually run this request, we need to go here on the send button. So now we're sending the request, and then we're getting back a response. The response is visible here in the body. Now you're probably wondering, like, what is this? This is JSON, and it is used to represent information. So APIs will not display a website. APIs don't have colors, don't have fonts, don't have images and things like that. Everything is formatted in a way that this information can be transmitted from a server to another server, or from a server to our computer, and then something else takes this information and presents it in a more beautiful way. Essentially what we've done here is we have sent this request, and we're pretty sure that we are on the right spot because we're getting back a status 200 OK. This is visible here. And we're also getting here a list of crocodiles. So of course we can go through this entire list, and even though we don't really know this format, we can see here some information like an ID 1, name is Bert, sex is M, we have a date of birth, and we have an age. So this is still pretty understandable. Now I just wanted to demonstrate how you can make a simple request from Postman. Now let's go back to K6 and try to do the same. I'm going to copy again the address. And in K6, I'm going to start from scratch. So the first thing that we need in order to make HTTP request is to import HTTP. We're going to go ahead and import HTTP. And this is inside the K6/HTTP package. This is from where we can import it. Apart from this, we also need to create the default function. And inside the function, we then have access to HTTP. And we're going to select GET. So this is why we're using here .get, because we want to make a GET request. And here inside as a string, I'm going to paste the address to the crocodiles. so that we can get this list of crocodiles. Now, if we leave it as it is right now, this is not super helpful. But let's say, for example, we want to see what is coming back. So for that, we're going to put this inside a variable. And then with console log, we can go ahead and see what we're getting back. Let's use K6 to run this. Whatever came back is then available here. Now, this is not so easy to read, but we're going to get a bit later into how we can make sense of this entire information that is coming back from here.